Illinois faces some big challenges. Today, we're about to hear a truly honest analysis of the problems we face. Equally as important, you'll also hear an in-depth discussion of some practical solutions. This is your radio source for stories, the insight, and the answers you won't hear anywhere else. Not in the media and not coming from Springfield. You're listening to Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Policy Institute. Now, here's your host, AM 560's Dan Proft.
Good afternoon, Dan Proft, and joining me on this edition of Illinois Rising is Ted Dabrowski, Vice President of Policy at the Illinois Policy Institute. And Ted, it's been a bit of an eventful week for you. You were front and center in Lincolnshire, in scenic, bucolic Lake County this week for a rather historic event. Lincolnshire, the village of Lincolnshire, becoming the first municipality in the state of Illinois to pass an ordinance designating their municipality a right-to-work zone. You testified on behalf of that proposed ordinance that ultimately passed, and in the face of many members of unions that were there to suggest that it was a bad idea.
Well, that's right. I was there, and I did testify in saying why I was in favor of right to work, not just for the Lincolnshire community, but for Illinois overall. But I tell you, it was a pretty interesting experience because there were so many of the union members who showed up and said, no, this is a bad idea. And they were a pretty tough, big group to reckon with. So kudos to Lincolnshire for the city council for standing strong and passing this.
Well, frame the arguments. You testified this was a good idea for Lincolnshire and for all other similarly situated municipalities. And the union members, I assume a combination of public sector and private sector union members that were in attendance, suggested this was a bad idea.
Yeah, so
why?
Right,
frame the
the bottom line is that people shouldn't be forced to join a union just to keep their job, and that's what's happening. In Illinois, we've seen many states change that and allow people to choose whether to be in a union or not. It doesn't mean that people can't join unions. Everybody should be free to join one. But if somebody doesn't want to pay union dues, they don't feel like they're getting the benefits of being in a union, they shouldn't be forced to pay it. And so what Lincolnshire did is they said that the people who are private sector employees who are hired in Lincolnshire don't have to join a union if they don't want to. The unions have the opposite view. People should be forced. People shouldn't have that choice. And what they're trying to do is protect all the money that's raised from union dues in order to allow them to do their politicking that they do with a lot of that money.
But at the rank and file level for union members, it seems to me there's a different perspective than the leadership. The leadership wants to be political power broker. At the rank and file level, what is it that they see? They see the benefit. I'm supposing this. They see the benefit of the union as they protect my job. They protect my my salary and pension benefits. They make sure they go up at a proper trajectory every time we negotiate a new collective bargaining agreement. So that's why I like the union, and I don't want free riders. I don't want people that come to work at my workplace who get the benefits that we negotiate and pay union dues for without also kicking in. Isn't that their argument?
Yeah, that's their big argument. These unions often get exclusive representation. That means if there's a union, even if you don't want to be part of the union, you have to be part of that union and take advantage of their benefits, their raises, et cetera. But what we're arguing is that an individual should be able to negotiate those things themselves. The union should not have exclusive representation for everybody. Let people have a choice of whether they want to be in that. And maybe even an individual could get something better than what the union is negotiating. And that certainly would change people's minds about whether the union is good for them or not.
One of the things we talked to on my morning show, Chicago's Morning Answer with Amy Jacobson, on Friday, we talked to a trustee for the village of Lincolnshire, Trustee McDonough, and he essentially said one of the other impetuses for Lincolnshire to consider this ordinance they ultimately passed was they're trying to recover from the recession from 7 years ago, and they still haven't fully recovered. And they've done some investigating, some due diligence, and they find that businesses, in terms of making a decision about their location, look at whether a state, or in this case, I guess a community, is right to work or not. That's an important factor in deciding where they're going to locate. And so that was one of the reasons they said, well, if this is something that businesses want to make Lincolnshire more attractive to locate here and bring jobs and economic opportunity here, then maybe it's something we should take under advisement. And ultimately they did.
Well, I think that's one of the amazing things about this whole this whole thing is that, we've got a paralyzed legislature in Illinois. We don't have them working on the budget. They're not fixing the pension issues, and they're killing the economy. So I think what's amazing about a city like Lincolnshire is just saying, hey, we're going to do something on our own to make sure we grow. You're right. Most companies, there's about 1,100 companies that have banned Illinois because we're not a right-to-work state. And it's why we've seen all the growth, economic growth in a lot of the states in the South. Or we've actually seen growth in Indiana and Michigan since they passed right-to-work. So what Lincolnshire is saying is that, look, Springfield may not be doing anything for us, but we're going to take control of our own situation to make sure that we're competitive so that we get businesses and investment in our hometown.
And how raucous was it? Did you have to kind of fight your way in and out of the board meeting, or
Well, we got there early, and so we got front row seats, and of course we were criticized for that, but we did have front row seats. But there was a massive crowd of people opposing this, and I think what's pretty amazing is how, despite all the negative comments about right to work, the city council held strong and passed it. There's a lot of pressure put on by people from the community outside, mostly outside, against it, but they held strong.
And you were saying that the opponents of the right to work ordinance invoked the example of Martin Luther King.
Yeah, they did, and it's pretty sad when they do that. I mean, I think our key point was that individuals should have the right whether to choose a union or not, and I think Martin Luther King would certainly support people's individual rights to make choices.
Yeah, well, that's what the connect to Martin Luther King. I don't recall Martin Luther King or the civil rights movement being about defined pensions for public sector workers, for example, or closed shops. I just don't recall that being central to the civil rights movement.
Well, it wasn't part of the "I Have a Dream" speech. It must have been some other speech,
I suppose. For more on this, we're now joined by Jacob Hubert. Jacob is a litigator with the Illinois Liberty Justice Center. It's a public interest law firm, effectively. And Jacob and his team at Liberty Justice are providing representation to the village of Lincolnshire pro bono, as I understand it, from Lincolnshire trustee McDonough. Jacob, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Sure, happy to be on.
So what do you anticipate? I mean, since this was kind of a watershed moment for Illinois, the first municipality to pass a right-to-work ordinance, and there's the possibility that others may follow suit now that the seal has been broken. What do you anticipate in terms of legal arguments, litigation that may come from the public sector unions or the private sector unions, the individuals who oppose these sorts of ordinances?
Yeah, well, the unions have said they're going to sue to challenge these ordinances, and so they probably will. And they point to an opinion that Lisa Madigan put out, where she says that local governments can't do this, that under federal law, states can pass right-to-work laws, but they have to do it at the state level. Local governments can't do it. That's their argument. But they're wrong, because, in fact, there's nothing in federal law that says that only states can pass right-to-work laws. There's nothing that says that local governments can't do it. And here in Illinois, local governments have the authority to do anything that the state government could do if they have home rule powers, which Lincolnshire does and many other municipalities do. So they have the authority to pass this kind of law, and there's nothing that says that they can't.
Jacob, there's about 25 other states that have right-to-work laws already. And we've seen Kentucky start to pass. I think that there's now 6 counties that have right to work, or 6 localities that have right to work. Could we see this spread in Illinois? Have they emboldened other cities to move forward? And if so, how does that change the whole legal dynamics of this case?
I think it will embolden other municipalities to move forward now that they see that someone's done it. It can be done. I think we'll see more people trying it. I don't know that it'll really affect the legal case. It could be that the unions will wait for a few others to do it, and then they'll pick the one they want to sue for whatever strategic reasons they have. That's actually what they did in Kentucky, where a number of counties passed these kinds of ordinances, and then the unions picked one of them to sue.
But now, Jacob, what about the argument, the legal argument, that if a local ordinance runs afoul of state law, then the state law is supreme? That's not at bar here?
No, because there is no state law that says you can't do this. Home rule cities can pass whatever they want as long as there's no state law that specifically says that they can't. And there is no state law that says that they can't do this.
So do you expect that unions may try and run two tracks, move a piece of legislation that would ban municipalities from doing what Lincolnshire did, while at the same time they're litigating and making the legal argument that Lisa Madigan made?
Well, they might, but it'd be a waste of effort because we know the governor isn't going to sign anything like that. And I sort of doubt they could get enough people on board to override a veto.
All right, Jacob Hubert, litigator with the Liberty Justice Center, representing the village of Lincolnshire in any potential litigation that may be coming down the pike as anticipated. Jacob, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Sure, happy to do it.